JSON is nothing. It is a JavaScript object notation, right? It is a simple data exchange pattern, right? It is a simple data exchange format or pattern which helps us to communicate between the JavaScript and server-side technology. So what I want is, I want to read the data from this server. This is my client, this is my server. I want to read the data to and fro using JSON, right? So what exactly this JSON is? This JSON is nothing. It is going to have a data in the form of name value pair. What does that mean, name value pair? So if I'll show you the data over here, just ignore this part. Just focus upon this part only. Opening the curly braces and then closing the curly braces, right? And this is my name. Customer code is one of the property, and this is my value. So this basically works upon name value pair. This is the format that you are going to throw your data. Okay. Clear? As I told you, this is this is your browser, this is your server, and this server, in today's world, this server, it may contain any technology. It may contain your WCF, it may contain your ASP.NET, it may contain your SharePoint, it may contain your JSP, PHP, CGI, any technology, right? And what exactly the client browser is having? Client browser is having JavaScript. So in order to get the data, to and fro from the server to the client, or from here to there, we basically get the JSON. We have something, in order to exchange the data, whenever your data is complex, right? So JSON is the best way. So this is the example that I have taken, and right. So till here, I did nothing. I have taken one web form in which I have defined this two. You can say that the name value pair JSON property, the name, and this is the value. Customer code is this, and customer name is this, right? Now, I can take the same value, I can assign whatever the JSON object, or you can say that the JSON data to a JavaScript object, right? This is my JavaScript object, X, yeah, where X or whatever, right? Now, and I can get the data. It clearly mentioned that I can get all the JSON data in this format using JavaScript. Yeah, yeah. So that's what exactly this picture is also telling you, that you get the JSON data and you put it, you can say that you assign it to a JavaScript object. So in our case, JavaScript object is X, and now we are assigning this particular value to this, this thing, customer code and customer name, right? Yeah. So if I'm going to run this, form, yeah, can you see that 1001? Yeah. Right? Okay. So that what. Yeah. So that what exactly. So this, what exactly happening is, in our case we are using MVC, right? So our server was MVC. This emits out JSON format, and this JSON format can be easily converted to the JavaScript object, right? So, or this is, you can say that in my case, this is a simple, an ASP.NET web application, or it's an ASP.NET web application. I have taken one form, and it is emitting out this JSON, right? And I am converting that JSON into this JavaScript object. So that's what it is written. Yeah. Server-side technology emits out JSON format, and this JSON format can be easily converted to the JavaScript object. Yeah. So for each and every technology, now since we are dealing with Microsoft technologies, so we need to take care only of the JSON format that has been emitted out by various Microsoft technologies. Like for WCF, you basically get the data in terms of web HTTP binding, right? This is the the JSON format that has been emitted out by WCF. So JSON format that has been emitted out by MVC is JSON result. For ASP.NET is serialization, right? So Microsoft technologies, we are having different categories, like we are having MVC, we are having ASP.NET, we are having WCF. So each category of this Microsoft technology, they emit out JSON in their own way, right? These are the terminologies that have been used for JSON. Now once we got the JSON, we are setting it to the JavaScript object. Yeah. Right? Because unless and until you are not going to set it into the JavaScript object, you cannot consume that, right? Create a very simple project or an MVC application. To take this MVC, application. So here I am going to take one model, and in which I am going to define two, the properties. I am going to take one customer class, and I am going to define two properties. So I have added one class to this controller. Sorry, no, to the model. Now I am going to add one controller. So I am going to take one customer controller. Now, so since we are using, it's in our the whole, you can say that the structure of our MVC is into this single application. So we can directly use this, namespace, MVC model, right? Yeah. So that I can take this you can use model, yeah. Right? So we can understand the value. Yeah. Yeah. So till here, I mean till here we have done this till this part, right? And let me change the name of this. An action. I know. I hope you understand this. This is an action. This is the controller. Yeah. So you have an idea about that, right? Yeah. This is your action. We have defined the model. Yeah. Now I try to consume this model into this controller. I have created an object of the controller. Then I have assigned some values and then returning the view. But till here I am not getting any kind of JSON format, because this is something code that is going to run on the server side, and it is returning an object of the customer, right? So in order to change that, what I'm going to do is, go here. Yes. Can you see this in this diagram? I'm going to update this thing as an return JSON object, and this JSON behavior dot allow this, right? Yeah. Asking you for the come to the second parameter. In this, I am going to pass the object, and then so this basically gets the request from the client server. I mean, this is basically for getting the request, right? When you are trying to get the request, right? So this is exactly what it is. I mean, I'm just now, rather than passing the object, I'm just sending the JSON object. I'm returning the JSON object. Okay? Yeah. So we are done. So step. Okay. Now we have to define R. So let me take the view as an. I don't want any master page type of. This is my view. So I'm going to use my language JavaScript. Now I need to give the reference of this the script in order to use the JSON. So maybe I think this 1.8.20 is good enough for that. So I'm going to take the reference of that, so that I can start consuming that JSON. I'm going to use dollar. Yes. To open this, looking for the string URL, right? So what exactly that URL is? Okay, first let me comment this part so that I can take the URL first. So I'll come back to that. What is that? This is my customer. This is my customer. Let me run this into Google. Then your controller name and slash. So it's, yeah, we got the get customer because we have defined the view. And it's a very older way, right? So it's in MVC2. Just to show the data because I was not able to show it on my machine. I'm got some problems in Explorer. I got this page. I mean, it got the view, right? You have defined the action and the control, right? Once you are done with that, now you have to define this here $.get. Yeah, in the view itself, you need to define this query. Let me write it over here, and then you can copy paste this over here. If you go to this $.get string URL, that URL is your this URL, and you can clearly see that. So this is the URL. Correct? What is the second data? It's asking you for the string data. Load data from the server using the HTTP GET request. But I don't have any data to pass on right now, so I'm taking it as a null. And third one is my callback function, right? This is the callback function that you want to send, right? So I'm taking it as a callback, right? So this is the way. Like first of all, you need to take the first parameter, that is that your the current URL. Then any data if you want to pass right now. No, I don't have any data. And the next one is the callback, right? So this is one is my call. So we have defined all the things. Now what after that? I need to define this callback function because this third parameter is in the function, right? You can see that this is the function state success data. I mean whatever the data you get basically at the end of the day. So we have taken alert as an data.customer name. So this data is nothing. Okay, and then you call back. This is your function. This is your callback function, and then you basically get the alert. I try to get the alert out of it. And what is that? The data dot. What's the name of my property? That is customer name. That's what my property is. Right? So we have taken this data dot customer name, right? So let me copy this over here and then yes, and then cut reference. It's very old. And then debugger here, and this thing. Okay, so this is language. Yeah, this is the. I mean, no, this is something this is an MVC2 application, right? So yeah. Can you understand this? This is language. This is not HTML5 supported, right? Yeah. So if I'm going to talk about 2012, then this is the lang, right? Yeah. So this HTML5 understands the lang, right? So it's a very older way defining the JavaScript. So you basically get the object. Oh, sorry. I totally forgot, to change it to this. This is actually this was the view it was returning. Now I want to send it as an in the JSON format. I want my MVC application to emit the JSON and then needs to get used by the JavaScript object, right? So this is my MVC application and that is returning the JSON, right? And once you get to this page, so it is going to use this callback function. Now this data is nothing that is your JavaScript object, right? This data is I mean this data, if you go any kind of JSON object that is get converted to the jQuery object, so this data works as in the data, or you can say that the variable. This is something similar to if we go back to this example, this is your X, right? We send the JSON data, or we set the JSON data to the this X JavaScript object, right? Similarly here, in our case, this data is something, it is the JavaScript object, and we are setting this JavaScript object to this data. So that's why we can get this customer name at the end of the day. So okay, I'll debug and that will make you much more clear. So this got filled up. The customer code and customer name. What is the and now, since I am opening it, I'm using the Internet Explorer. So that's why it is, saving it into the text file. If I'm going to open the same in the Google Chrome, but I don't have the Google Chrome on this virtual machine, so I'll show it here only. If you try to open it, in Google Chrome, so it is going to show you the JSON data directly. Open with the notepad. Can you see this? As I told you, the JSON data starts with the curly brace and then it opens with the curly brace, and this is the name and value pair, right? Yes. This is the name. Because of the JSON, it was not returning properly. But the only thing that I want to show it to you that it's returning, the JSON object, right? It is supposed to get over here. I don't have Google Chrome in this machine, otherwise, might be this between this Internet Explorer. I mean, if is not supporting this thing, it should come up with this data. Now this data contains your that all that your JSON object, and it has going to assign the value, and it at the end of the day it is supposed to show this alert data of customer. That I mean the main data was that just want to have this data into JSON format. Now this JSON format is getting assigned to this data object. And this data object is your this data object is your JavaScript object. This might be changing this. It's not creating perfect directive on We have one more virtual machine that application to take some time to open. And that's having Visual Studio 2012 also. It's having the Internet Explorer and Google Chrome both. Let me try to open it. Hopefully it is not going to crash. Trying the data, the program. I got again the data in here also. Yeah. And uh, this one, no. The name of my view will be we have to do a time. We got the object, the application. So here is the application and this app very Qlikview. And what was the name of my new customer? Dash name of contract. Qlikview. Actually, it is supposed to get hit over here the consume customer so that I can show you the data that so whatever the data that has been set, it is supposed to come over here. It's not able to get this. Yes, there we got it. That's what I want to see. I think there is some problem as I told you on that machine. So yeah, I just want to show this thing. We got it into the debugger. Once you press F11 and it got the URL, it will go there. It will go into the Qlikview. Now, if you can see this data, can you see this data? This is the JavaScript code, customer code 1001 and customer name UB. This is the JavaScript code that, it basically reads that particular JSON format, the JSON format that we have. So, yeah, this is just this exactly is the JSON format that we got and where we got the. So this is today. There is some problem, in that machine, so it's running fine over here. So that's what exactly I want to show. I need to, we have to create one more, to this object. Now our MVC has emitted this JSON object. Now we are consuming this JSON object over here, right? And this is the JavaScript object where you are assigning this JSON data, this object. Due to that callback function, right? This callback basically looks, what I'm trying to do in this callback function, I'm setting this data, the data that has been written by this customer over here, and then displaying it. Right? If I show you that, the customer data again, so that is nothing, that is a JSON, right? So it has converted that, this particular JSON data into the JavaScript object of data format, right? This data, and we basically put an alert to that. I mean, in whatever way you want to use, right? So we did nothing. I mean, we just pass on the data and then consume this. This data is actually getting filled up due to that callback function, right? So, other than this, what exactly we got the data, we got the JSON data, we have assigned it to this data object of JavaScript or jQuery, and we are finally displaying it. And can you see that it is not returning the whole HTML, right? Now, if I press F10, so here is the data. So, in that data object, what exactly this data object contains? This contains nothing. It only contains whatever the data that we get from the server. Are you getting my point? Yes. Initially, we send the data to the server in JSON format, right? And this basically getting only that data which is required. I mean, which is it is expecting using the callback function. So it is not returning the whole HTML, right? So if I'm going to say that in another word, it is using the concept of AJAX itself. Correct? Yeah. Why so AJAX? Because it is not returning the whole HTML, right? Yeah. Right? It is only returning the data which is required. Yeah. So this is something you can say that a kind of, AJAX. We haven't implemented the AJAX here, but the only thing that I want to tell you over here is, yes, we are getting the JSON data, that's okay, but again internally it is supporting the AJAX. Why so? Because we are just getting the data only which is required, right? We are just getting the data only which is required, not the whole HTML. Yeah. Clear? Yeah. Any doubt? I mean, sorry for that. I mean, Bhavin, really sorry for that. That my external this application is having some issues. Yeah, no problem. So that's the thing. I mean, I just want to show you regarding this JSON. I mean, this is very basic thing about JSON. Very basic thing. And it's almost the same step in MVC2. I was thinking to have, might be we need to change some of our code, but it's okay. It is having the same steps. Nothing special into that. It's same in MVC4 or MVC2 or MVC5 or 6. It's almost same everywhere. Because the concept for getting this JSON data is same everywhere. Get or post, whatever. Yeah. So yeah. Path controller. So for example, right. Yeah, I got your point. I mean, yes, I mean, as of now, it's it's a hard-coded thing. Yeah, it's very correct. Obviously, we are going to get the data, that this controller. Okay. Then we are going to talk about our project, right? So I'm going to open this. No, I'm just checking. So that's right. You are correct. You are correct. Yes. Obviously, we are going to do that part. Once we are going to architect this project. Parallelly, then we are going to return the JSON data and everything. So what we are going to do, we are going to set the values. Okay, we do not worry about this controller because this is ignorable for me. This is sample app is for web only. I have a separate there for controller. This controller. Can you see this? This is returning the model. Can you see over? Now we are going to consume the same into my you can say that my view. and this view is my country. Then you see this $.get JSON. Here I'm passing the controller, right? And this data is again, similar to the JavaScript object. So I'm setting this data. If you go to this function, whatever this each function, it is going to iterate to that object of JSON, whatever JSON that I have passed using this controller, or you can say that this model, right? So this model is going to contain, it is not going to contain a single record. It is going to contain multiple records, right? Now I'm going to iterate this particular model using this. So in our case, I have taken an example of this and country.contact country.address. Okay, this country is a table in the Northman database, right? And this is having the contact name and the address, right? So I'm going to use this particular value in order to show that data. It is going to iterate throughout this thing. So depending upon what country, okay, exactly the requirement over here is we are having, this is my controller name and this is my action name, and I'm passing that country. There is one, you can say that a text box in which you are going to send the country to the server, the country name like Germany, US, India, whatever. And depending upon that, it is going to return you back the contact name and the address. So in this case, our second, this parameter, we are passing the the country value, whatever the country value that you have set, right? And then my function data, because this is the get JSON data method. If you're going to open this, this is the string URL, and then the object data, and this is my object data. And once you are done with that, then you need to define a function. In our case, the function logic would be something like this. So we need to show it into the table, and for each data that is present into this, this data, right? So in this I am assigning these values to the country.contact name and address. So it is going to pull all the values for the corresponding country that you are going to pass, and then it is going to fetch all the country names and contact address, all the address and contact name of that particular country, and then setting it to the. We were talking about this one, right? Correct? Yeah. So this, yes, obviously we are going to do that once we are going to architect, this thing. So I mean, my objective is, just to make, first of all, the understanding of the JSON, AJAX and everything. Then when we are going to, work on this project, so that we are going to implement all, I mean, most of the things that we have covered so far, but into much more depth. Not, the examples like this, right? We are going to take some different examples. Like in the jQuery, we are going to take a grid in which I'm going to, generate the HTML on runtime. Then we are going to, apply, you can say that on the click of save button of your form, you need to iterate through the grid, and then once there is any duplicate data, then it is going to show you the duplicate data message that there is some duplicate data in your grid, in any record of your grid, right? So in that way we are going to into the depth directly, in much depth, deeper way, not the way that we are doing right now, because this is just for the kind of an introduction, so that when later on we are going to use these things so that you can understand. Okay. Yeah. So I think as of now I have this thing only for today's session, and then in the next coming sessions we are going to cover this AJAX and AJAX with MVC in jQuery, right? And AJAX, JSON and MVC. That's in combination of 3 things. Yeah. That is your AJAX, JSON and jQuery. Right. We are going to do one example using these 3, where we are going to use these things together. AJAX, JSON and jQuery. And then we are going to start. Yeah. Then we are going to start, work upon our, then it is going to be used post. Right? Yeah. And there might be some requirements, depending. It's not like that you cannot use get and post simultaneously. You can have something like this. You are going to, this is the way in which you can apply the same, get and post simultaneously. I can even, because there might be some, business requirement in which
I think that there is the top one, the top.
okay, yes, yes, yes. Yes. There was some syntax error over there. So that's in this is the way. You can apply, the post and get on the same action. So depending upon your requirement, it might be something. There might be some situations where you want to have the post and get on the same thing, right? And here I can, set if I can take the conditions from the HTML itself that there is one button, and if my button ID is equals to 1, then it is going to the case of get, and if my button ID is 2, then it is going to the case of post, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, I mean, we have some requirements for those kind of things. Like suppose you have a grid and you have a page. First of all, you need to search on the same page, and then once you search, then you got an option to add new, profiles. So you go to add new profiles, and then you need to post the data.
Yeah.
Are you getting my point? I mean, there is one page. You got one page, and that page contains one text box, right? So, and you are having search button over here, right? So you put some entry, and now you search it. So that means it is you're getting the thing, right?
Yeah.
Right? Your grid gets filter, right? You make some changes to the grid, and now you're posting the same page. Because this is the whole, this is a single form, not the page. I mean, in terms of technical stuff, if I going to call it as a single form, right? Now in it, and there is one more save button. So in order to save this, we are going to post the data. So this search is having its own ID, and this save button is having its own ID. So that I'm going to make a condition, and if that form collection dot whatever the ID that you have given is equals to text. The text is like suppose search, then do this thing, and if the that ID is equals to save, then do this thing. So in the same action, I'm doing the two things again.
Yeah.
Got the point?
Yeah.
We are going to take the same example. So if you want here, maybe we can cover the same as this thing as well in our this project. That's not an issue. That's not a very big stuff.
Okay. Yeah. No problem.
Yeah.
Just wanted to check there.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this project is actual thing that from you're going to learn a lot, right, in terms of architecture, because now you have an understanding of MVC. I mean, most of the things in terms of jQuery, JSON. Now, how to architect this project is very important, and how to pass the values between view models, controllers, views, and everything, right? So that's the most important part, to understand here. Now, how to pass the JSON. You know about this now. You know that this JSON. Right now, so I'm going to pass the model. Now you don't have any doubt over here. Since we have done that example, you need to pass the object of the model. This is my model. I filled up my model, right? And this, the behavior I have already set. Now here I am trying to use this.
Yeah.
Right? What's the point?
Yeah.
So that for today's this part. And in the next session, we are going to cover this key thing. So this is very important also. Ajax, JSON, and jQuery, because this is not the only way that we are going to pass the data. We can do this one. There are many more things available. Like suppose I want to have my form. If you know about that Ajax.begin form, I don't want to post the whole thing, right? I don't want to do that thing. Like suppose I have a pop-up. Okay, I'll tell you. There is one button. This is my form. There is one button, add employee, right? You need to add the employee. It is going to open the pop-up, right? Now you filled up the form, and there is one column name or there is one text box, employee ID. So when you're going to save this data, when you're going to post this data, right? right? The requirement, business requirement is that, okay, fine, you filled up rest of the fields, first name, last name, phone number, but this employee ID is unique field, correct? So when you're going to post this data, it will go through the various layers, then finally in the SQL repository, I'm just checking it through the link story that if this employee ID is duplicate or not. Now suppose if this is duplicate, then we are having function success in Ajax as well. Function success. So if that returns false, that I'm not going to close this pop-up, I'm going to give you an alert that this employee ID already exists. So it is not going to close this pop-up. And once it gets written true, so it is going to close this pop-up.
Okay.
Right? You got my comment?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I mean, here we are going to use this ajax.begin form kind of thing. Because I want to post the data, but this is on pop-up. So I want to have an alert on this pop-up as well once my data is wrong. And if suppose my data is right, then even if you want, you can close this, or if you want, you can show the alert.
Yeah.
In generally, we basically close this kind of pop-up. That means your data has been saved correctly. Or if you want, even you can even show the alert that data is saved successfully, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are going to cover that thing into ajax.begin form, kind of thing. So we are going to pass this data and everything. Right?
Okay. Yeah. No problem.
Yeah. So that's the thing that we will cover in those sessions. Right. So any doubt in this JSON part, because this is very important. As of now, this data is very small. This data is nothing. I mean, customer name. You can think of about this data, right? This model. This model is built up with a lot of data, right? I'm passing this model, right? And you can understand. I mean, I'm searching the data from this model. Yeah. I mean, this is just a basic concept of the JSON and everything. So that when when we are going to implement the same stuff in our project, so that you can understand it much more clear.
Yeah.
So see you in the next session for that Ajax, jQuery and JSON in MVC, and then hopefully then after that we are going to start work on our project. So this performance improvement and everything we are going to cover, because this is a part of your architecture itself, right?
Yeah.
So how to improve the performance of your application. If your architecture is good, obviously the performance of your application is very good, right? And do use the relevant things like using how to decide when to use JSON data and when to use this Ajax form and all that thing. So that automatically at the end of the day increase the performance, right? If you're using Ajax properly, that means you are sending the data which is required and you're getting the data which is required. So obviously it is going to increase the performance. Yeah?
Yeah.
And this overview of an approach is, yes, we are going to use EDMX. So we are going to use database first approach. Database first. We are going to create the database first and then we are going to create the model.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And in this model first is, yeah, go ahead, please.
Sorry, are we covering automap for if that the case, if it's possible? Like, do we need to?
Come again, I didn't get you, sorry.
Sorry, are we using automapper to bind the modules and anything?
Okay, you want to use the automapper?
Yeah, I'm just asking. I don't know what we.
Yes, I mean we can do that part as well. So that's not an issue. Even I can show you separately how to use the automapper in order to bind this data. So that's not an issue. So that's again a part of MVC, and we can use that automapper itself. So that's not an issue. But what the architecture of this particular application is, it's using DI service locator, and it's various layers, how to decouple each and every layer in our application. That's what our agenda is, objective is to make your application so much robust, so that if somebody comes in and want to add any layer to any class to any particular layer, so it is not going to impact the other layer, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So obviously, I mean, if we want, I mean, we can cover the automapper using the automapper itself. But you know, AutoMapper is having, there is some own dependency. So we are going to cover that part, that's not an issue. But on separate project, I think that would be good if we can cover in the separate project so that I can show you the pros and cons.